Hello, I'm Stephanie and I'll be reading The Little Frog Prince. One fine evening, a young princess put on her bonnet and clogs and went to take a walk by herself in the woods. When she came to a small spring of water with a rose in the middle of it, she sat herself down to rest a while. The princess had a golden ball in her hand, which was her favourite thing, and she was always throwing it up in the air and catching it when it fell, throwing it and catching and throwing and catching. After a time, she threw it so high that she missed it as it fell. It rolled along the ground until it finally went into the water. The princess looked, but the water was very deep, so deep that she could not see the bottom of it. She began to cry and said, "Oh, I would give all my fine clothes and jewels and everything I have in the world to have my ball back." While she was speaking, a frog popped its head out of the water and said, "Princess, why do you weep so bitterly?" "What can you do for me?" said the princess. "My ball has fallen in the water." The frog said, "I do not want your pearls or your jewels or your fine clothes, but if you let me live with you, eat from your plate and sleep in your warm house, I will bring you back your ball." "What nonsense," thought the princess. "A silly frog is talking to me. Well, he could never get out of the water and come and visit our palace, though he may be able to get my ball back at the bottom of the water. So therefore, I will tell him he can have everything he asks." She said to the frog, "Well, if you bring me back my ball, I will do as you ask." The frog put his head down, dived deep into the water, and after a little while he came up again with the ball in his mouth and threw it to the edge of the spring. As soon as the young princess saw her ball, she was so overjoyed. She picked it up and ran home as fast as she could. The frog called after her, "Stay, princess, take me with you, as you said." But the princess did not stop. The next day, just as the princess had sat down to dinner, she heard a strange noise, plod, 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 as if something was coming up the staircase, and soon afterwards there was a gentle knock at the door, and a little voice cried out, "Open the door, my princess dear, open the door to your true love here, and mind the words that you and I said by the fountain cool in the green wood shade." The princess ran to the door and opened it, and there was the frog. At this sight she was sadly frightened and shut the door as fast as she could. But the king, her father, sensed that something had frightened her and asked what was the matter. "There is a frog," she said, "at the door. He lifted my ball for me out of the spring. I told him that he could live here with me, thinking that he'd never get out of the water. But there he is at the door, and he wants to come in." While she was speaking, the frog knocked again. "Open the door, my princess dear, open the door to your true love here," the king said to the young princess. "As you have given your word, you must keep it, so go and let him in." So she did so. The frog hopped into the room and came up close to the table where the princess sat. "Pray, lift me up onto a chair," said he to the princess, "and let me sit next to you." The princess did. "Put your plate nearer to me so I can eat out of it." The princess did. And when the frog had eaten as much as he could, he said, "Oh, now I am tired. Please carry me upstairs and put me to bed." The princess did. She took him up in her hand, put him upon her pillow, where he slept all night long. As soon as it was light, the frog jumped up, hopped downstairs and went out of the house back to the water. "Oh, now then," thought the princess, "at last he is gone." But she was mistaken, for when night came again she heard the same tapping at the door. "Open the door, my princess dear, open the door to your true love here." And when the princess opened the door, the frog came in and slept upon her pillow as before until the morning broke. And the third night he did the same, but she was beginning to enjoy his company. But when the princess awoke on the fourth morning, she was astonished to see, instead of the frog, a prince, a handsome prince. He told her that he had been enchanted by a spiteful fairy who had changed him into a frog, and that he had been cursed until someone could show kindness and take him out of the spring of water, let him eat from her plate, sleep upon their pillow for 3 nights. "You," said the prince, "your kindness has broken this cruel charm, and now I have nothing to wish for except that you will join me to visit my father's kingdom, and there, if you wish, we shall marry, and I will love you as long as you live." The young princess was very surprised, but she was not long in saying "yes" to all this. And as they spoke, a brightly coloured coach drove up with 8 beautiful horses, all decked with plumes of feathers and golden harnesses. And behind the coach rode the prince's servant, who was heartbroken at his master's curse, but now his heart could burst with happiness. They all took leave of the king and made their way to the prince's kingdom. They lived there happily ever after. The end.